right. What is up, everybody? It's in my throat. Oh, I forgot to turn on the music. I need to turn on the music. Yo, what up, Zach? I'm planning on it. It depends on what time he gets on. As long as he's not getting on super late, I'll be on to play with him. I need to start some music, get some background going. There we go. Alrighty. We've got a nice little build today. Oh, I should probably get the case out, huh? Probably would help to get the case out of the box. Oh, I finally sharpened my pocket knife and it's so much better. Oh my gosh. It's crazy. When you sharpen a knife, it actually, like, it works. It's cool. I know, dude. I literally haven't even, like, besides the other day when I turned it on to update everything, I literally hadn't even turned on my gaming PC in like almost 2 months. It's been crazy. My dog is laying down right where I'd normally put the case. So this is gonna be interesting. Am I gonna check out Battlefield 6? Probably not. I don't think I have the time to mess around with it. I mean, at this point, just getting the gaming PC turned on to you know, play for a couple hours is about the most I have time for. So it's probably unlikely I'll get to take the time to learn a new game, download it. Definitely don't want to pay for it. Like, unless Rytech fully switches over to Battlefield, and that's the only way I can play with him again, it's probably not gonna happen. Okay, I got the case out. Now we're ready to go. Let's talk about today's build. Yo, what up, Elliot? How we doing, Mark? So, today's build. We've got a Ryzen 7 9700X. We got a 1 terabyte of storage, 32 gigs of RAM. We've got an RTX 4060 Ti. I tried to convince the customer that the 5060 Ti 16 gig, while it's only like $40 or $50 more, actually it was less than that, it's probably like $30 more, is significantly better in every way with zero drawbacks. And he was very, he was insistent on having the 4060 Ti. So I said, okay, we'll go with the 4060 Ti. So that's what we've got. Don't put that on me. We've got the ASRock 850 watt. Got a nice little CPU cooler here from Thermalright, and then an MSI Mag X870 motherboard. What up, Julian? How we doing? There's an open beta. Yeah, I've heard there's an open beta. Yeah, it's unlikely I'll even turn on my gaming PC this weekend. My free time on the weekends is usually spent gaming, or not gaming, golfing. All right, so that's what we got in here. Let's get started. Hey, stop that. Dog's doing weird stuff over there. Okay. Get these Wi-Fi antenna out of here. Did you hear the rumors about the Nvidia CPU? I've heard rumors about it. I kind of doubt that it's actually going to happen. They are leaning away from gaming stuff. So the idea that they would spend the money to develop a CPU that would be useful for gamers, I think is super unlikely. They were talking about like not even making gaming GPUs for super long. Like that's, yeah. So I find it very hard to believe that there's any chance that they'll actually make a gaming CPU. On the 50 series cards, I mean, they're solid. Like, besides some of the issues, which seem to be mostly fixed now. I mean, they're a solid performance upgrade from the 40 series. They're, similarly expensive. Like, both of them are quite, what the heck? Tried to take the plastic peel off and the actual sticker came off. I mean, the 40 series was not cheap either, but that's crazy. This plate came off. Okay. Yeah, I mean, they're solid. There's definitely been some issues with them, especially on like the really high-end cards, but that's kind of been par for the course lately. Like, there's just been so many issues with everything coming out, but it's definitely worth it. Like, if you're looking to upgrade to a new GPU or a new PC, 50 series or the AMD GPUs, the new AMD GPUs are both solid options. I haven't had any issues with any of the PCs I've sold with the new Nvidia GPUs. We've had a couple of like hiccups here and there, but nothing that we weren't able to fix for the customers. So I don't see any reason not to get a 50 series GPU if you're looking to get something new and better. Best GPU for 4K. I'm not really familiar with that particular use case, but if you're just watching stuff at 4K, you can pretty much use anything. It doesn't take very much power to just, this is a general response, I guess. It doesn't take that much power or capability to just output like a video that's being streamed in 4K. It's when you're trying to game in 4K, that's much different. Okay. But yeah, I don't know anything about that. It's pretty wild behavior out of you guys. What up, MJ? All right, 1 terabyte. Let's get this going. The CPU in this one is a 9700X. It looks like Botrix is being lazy and not even working, so if you guys have questions about what's in here, you might have to just ask me. I don't think the exclamation point specs command is going to work today. Maybe it'll work eventually, but so yeah, this has a 9700X and then a RTX 4060 Ti because the customer adamantly did not want a 50 series for whatever reason. I tried to tell him, I was like, the downsides that you described aren't actually real. There's no reason to not get a 5060 Ti instead, but he really wanted the 4060 Ti, so I said, okay, it's your money. I'll take it. Pre-owned 1660 is that's definitely gonna be a big upgrade from a 1050. I mean, it's not like a 1660 is not going to be like super impressive in terms of a lot of like newer games today. So if you can get yourself to something that's actually new, I mean, that obviously is the better option, but it just kind of comes down to your budget. Yeah, MJ, Botrix hasn't shown on any of my channels that it's working, other than looks like it's working on Kick, I guess, but and Twitch for whatever reason. What GPU will I use? This build has a RTX 4060 Ti. The customer was very insistent on having a 4060 and not a 5060. So I said, okay. Yeah, I would go AM5 for sure, if you can. That way, like long term, you'll have way more upgrade paths. It's gonna be supported for a lot longer. It'll be faster. I don't see a downside to waiting a little longer and getting an AM5 build. How often should you upgrade your GPU? I mean, honestly, it's just down to when you feel like the performance you're getting is no longer good enough for what you want, you know? I would say a decent timing would be like every 3 to 5 years, like 3 being kind of the minimal and 5 being the more typical, like average, I would say. What up, Pierre? I mean, the 3080 Ti is still a good GPU. It obviously, like, it doesn't hold water against like the same level of 50 series, but it's still a very good GPU. Like, there's no doubt about it. Like, you can have a 3080 Ti and you will still be able to do a lot with it. That's like the hard part, right? Like, some of the older GPUs, older in air quotes, they're still very capable. But if you start comparing them to the new stuff, you're like, oh, this isn't very good anymore. Like, well, yeah, kind of. It's an all-in-one liquid cooler, so yes, technically it is water cooling. It's not custom water cooling because that's super expensive and way out of this guy's budget and kind of unnecessary. Actually, definitely unnecessary for this build. Okay. Oh, that's cool. Oh, interesting. This is different from all the other Thermalright ones I've had. This actually just uses the standard brackets, so I guess we can just put these back on. Every other Thermalright AIO I've used has its own like brackets and stuff. This one's using the standard AM5 ones. Cool. Sold 1050 now, using a 710 just for display. Yeah, 710 is not really good for anything other than just display. Yo, TTV, thank you so much. Wolf, thank you so much for the follow. Appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, like the cost of a good water cooling system, you're probably looking at like a minimum of $600 to $800 if you're water cooling everything, right? Because that includes like a GPU water block, a CPU water block. You got to have your pump and reservoir. You got to have radiators. Got to buy the fans. Got to have all the tubes and fittings. There's a couple of things out there where you can do it for a little bit cheaper. Like I know Fantex has a cool like kit that you can do for, I think it's a couple $100. That kind of comes with everything and makes it really simple. But if you're going kind of the standard route and you're just picking all the components and doing it, it can get pretty expensive. I'm currently building a new PC, but not really fond of the 50 series. I mean, there's no telling when like the next series is gonna be. If you don't like the 50 series, I mean, you could look at the 9070 XT. That's a really good GPU, and it kind of performs similarly to like a 5070 Ti for a little bit cheaper price. So if you don't want a 50 series, you could go AMD instead and get a really good bang for your buck. Your 14-year-old just bought your first PC, you got a 9060 XT, 9600X. That's a great system. A lot of aesthetics, 1000-watt power supply, AIO. That's great. Like, you can play any game with that. At least at 1080p, you can probably play, depending on which 9060 XT you got, you can probably play most every game at 1440p and get pretty good FPS too. Building a PC, but I don't know if I should get a better GPU or a better CPU. You should definitely balance the two. You know, don't get a 5090 and like a 9600X probably. You know, figure out something that like works pretty well with both. If you have a healthy budget, White Meta, honestly, get a 9800X 3D and then get yourself like a 5070 Ti, 5080, 9070 XT. That's like cream of the crop without overspending. Because that 9800X 3D is just so good. And a lot of PCs or a lot of games are pretty heavily like CPU bound. So, you know, I think it makes sense to get a good solid CPU, and it doesn't cost nearly as much. Oh, 700 bucks? Ooh, yeah, I mean, 700 bucks, probably get like a 9600X and a 5060 Ti 16 gig, or a 9060 XT 16 gig. But that's basically your entire budget right there. That's $700. Okay, let's get our case out here. Ooh. So this is the Lianli LandCool 207. It's pretty nice. It's got a couple of pre-installed fans up front. It's got 2 pre-installed down below for your GPU. And it's really interesting, the power supply actually mounts way up on the front. Which is very different from your typical PC layout, but I really like this case. I mean, I like everything that Lianli makes, to be honest, but this case is pretty cool. Yeah, we're building the PC. Ray, it's the Lianli LandCool 207. Too far. There we go. Do I see an Intel come back against Ryzen? I mean, they could with their, if they come out with a new series of CPUs, but with their current lineup, I don't see it happening. All right, let's get our motherboard in here. A little bit of a tight fit. Okay, got those all lined up pretty good. Let's get some bolts out here. What up, Riper? It is the 16 gig. Oh, nice. That's great. Planning to get a 4070. Hopefully you can get one for a pretty good deal now with the 50 series being out. I mean, like if you're looking at them new, you probably won't get a great deal, but if you can find a good lightly used one, 2, 4, 6, then you'll be in good shape. 7, 8, and 9. There we go. Okay. Don't need those. How we doing, Surratt? Right now you have RTX 4060 in your PC and a Ryzen 5 6700? You mean 5700? There was no 6000 series AMD CPUs, I don't think. Unless I've blocked them from my memory. There's 7, 8, and 9000 series. McRomies is a Lianli LandCool 207. If you guys want to see the specs, it looks like Botrix is working in at least the YouTube vertical chat and a couple of the other chats, so type in !specs if you want to see what's in here. What up, Vlad? I was considering the 9070 XT, but I always bought 90 versions of the Nvidia cards. I'm the type of person to upgrade ever gen. I've had a 3090, I have a 4090. Ah, I see. Yeah, I mean the 9070 XT is not going to be an upgrade really from a 4090. So if you do want an upgrade, I mean the 5090 is not a huge upgrade from a 4090. That's kind of the tough part, to spend that much money on it. It's like it's not a huge upgrade. In 4K, you do get a decent boost, but in the rest of it, it's kind of like mediocre in terms of the cost to performance boost if you already have a 4090. I think you're a bit of an outlier in buying super high end and buying it every generation. I would say most people at least skip one generation between buying GPUs. Come on. There we go. There we go. All right, motherboard is in. Switch you guys over to that. Switch you guys over there as well. And we'll get rid of our work mat. Get lazy Susan out here. Yo, Riper, thank you so much for the 10 bucks, dude. Appreciate that. Keep up the nice work, dude. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. You built a PC like a month ago, Vlad? What'd you put in it? Yeah, LTT screwdriver. I've had that for a couple years now. I don't know what pieces to put in my PC with a budget of 700 bucks. Are you in the US, Meta? What should I upgrade to after having a GTX 1080 that's now overheating? What's your budget, Ben, roughly? My favorite card was the 3090, especially since I had the ROG Strix. Oh, that's a great looking card. Just got your PC 6 months ago? Let's go. Hopefully it's working well for you. Oh, you're not in the US? I would say if you're, I mean, the UK, I could probably put something together for you. If you go to, type in ! Discord, join my Discord and drop something in one of the chats, like PC build question chat or something, and I'll try and put something together for you. Is it better to buy high watt CPU rather than sticking to what is enough for the build? High watt CPU? I mean, for AMD, there aren't really any super high watt CPUs other than like the 9950X or X3D. It's more about, honestly, for CPU, unless you're doing a lot of workstation stuff, it's more about single core performance than it is about just raw power, which is one of the hassles with Intel CPUs. They use so much power for not getting that much, like that great of performance right now. Do you face many problems while setting up the BIOS? I don't, personally. I haven't. I don't do a ton in the BIOS. Like I set XMP, I set the fan tuning, make sure resize bar and stuff is on, and that's really all I do. I don't do any like overclocking or anything in the BIOS. I also do make sure that the BIOS is updated to the newest version, but I don't do a ton of stuff in the BIOS. Discord. Why is there so much mesh behind the case? You mean like back here? For airflow, man. Gotta have good airflow. Gonna gift that LTT screwdriver to my dad. Dude, it's great. I really like it. I've been using it for 2 years. I have 0 complaints. It is a little bit expensive, but I have no complaints. $1,400 budget, what should you get? Building it yourself, you could get like a 9700X and like a 5060 Ti 16 gig, because that puts you at 3,800, and then you can use the rest of your budget for all of your other components. 14900K 64 gigs and a 4080. Heck yeah. Radar, this is a Lian Li Landcool 207. It's been my first ever PC, CyberPower. I don't like CyberPower, but 7800X 3D, 32 gigs, 5070 Ti. I mean, that's solid. My problem with like companies like CyberPower is they tend to cheap out on things. Like they'll use slow or high latency RAM. They'll use, cheap motherboards and cheap power supplies because people don't know any better. And their build quality isn't always the best. Yes, Elliot, but I wouldn't say like every month. I would say, look at it every 6 months to a year and update it. That way you don't have any issues from it, You don't want to like necessarily, I wouldn't personally wait until you start having issues to update it. I like to keep it updated on a semi-regular basis. 5700X 3D to a 9800X 3D 3070 to 5070. Oh, Rofflin, that's gonna be a huge upgrade. Which is better, the 9070 or the 5070? In the non-XT, I think the 9070 is still a little bit better than the 5070, but I think they're pretty similar. What up, Husk? No, I just didn't have any more builds last week. So like I did the build on Monday and I didn't have any more builds to do last week. So we're doing it today instead of anything last week. Okay, I should get going because I'm not doing anything right now. I'm just standing here talking to you guys, which, you know, it's not a bad thing. Probably should be doing that since I'm live streaming, but okay. HD audio, let's get that in here. They routed it like almost all the way to where it needed to go, which is pretty cool. Okay, so got that. All of our other stuff is up here. Let's pull that stuff through. Okay, okay. Okay, so front panel. So let's route that through here. Put our front panel connector in. Come on. There we go. Let's get our USBs. Our USB-C in here first. Ooh, right out the side, I like that. So this motherboard has a bunch of the I/O coming kind of straight out of the side there. It's gonna look super clean. Bracket is kind of in the way, but we should be okay. There we go. And I'm kind of trying to route these cables up out of the way here because the power supply goes in right here. So if I have a bunch of cables in the way, it's gonna be kind of a pain in the butt later. All right, so this is for our front fans. Let's get our connection for our front fans right there. Just like that. Again, just gonna kind of route it up there. It might not stay up there forever. Well, it might not stay up there at all, but it might not stay up there forever. We might move this around later, but I just kind of want it out of the way for now until I get my power supply in there. And RGB is gonna go right next to that one. Okay. Same thing right here. Okay, so got all that plugged in. Everything that's in there is plugged in. Now let's get our bottom fans plugged in. Looks like these don't have a daisy chain, which is fine. Or maybe they do, they are pre-daisy chained. Okay, cool, that's sweet. So there's just one connector for those two. All right, let's look down here. We've got another connector right there. Header, I guess I should say. Got a header right there. Okay. Just tie that up. All right. That's all plugged in. We are good to go there. Let's get some power cables going. Yo, Husk, thank you for the $5.99. Appreciate that, dude. Would you rather go i7 or i9 with a 4090? I mean, they have the same number of performance cores, so personally, I'd probably just go i7 and save a few bucks. The build's already done? No, Chris, we're not done. We're just getting going. Fuji, this is a Lean Lee Landcool 207. You can type in exclamation point specs if you want to see it in writing. Yeah, it's an AMD build, Pierre, at least for the CPU. Got a motherboard that came with 3 bent pins. Bro, send it back. I would just send it back, but that's just me. What CPU is in it? 9700X. What parts should you never buy used? You have to be really careful buying GPUs used. That's kind of the big one. Ryzen 9 7900 for 200 euros. That's not bad at all. 1800 total. What up, Zach? This one's got a 4060 Ti because the customer really wanted a 40 series instead of 50 series. Unless you weren't talking to me. Kind of makes me upset how I can't find a 3090 for under $600 to $700. Yeah, people just like think they hold their value, and so like they'll only sell them for a lot of money, even though they're probably not even worth it anymore. French, just about to build my PC. Can you approve my combo? 5060 and a 5600X? Yeah, it's a great combo for a nice budget little build. You misspelled it. I know you're busy with your build, but I just finished mine and I'm having issues with Windows 11 installation. Tried to install the Wi-Fi file, but had no luck. Says error installing driver. Try the other driver. Try your like the LAN Ethernet driver and see if that fixes it. Because I've had that one work on like motherboards that don't have Wi-Fi. So give that a shot. Am I going to boot it at the end? I mean, we won't have like a screen to show you that it booted. We'll turn it on. And then after that, I'll be doing all the software and stuff offline because it's just, I need to use that monitor. All right, so I need some of that stuff maybe. Don't want that, don't need that, don't need that. Looks better black or white. It's so subjective, honestly. I think white builds look really cool, but I'd say they're a little bit harder to do and it can be a little bit more expensive. Like white components tend to just be a little bit more expensive. So if you're going on a budget build, I would say go black. It's just a little bit easier to find stuff. PC froze mid-game, threw me into a temp profile, reset my computer, now I'm stuck in advanced settings. Don't know. You could have something corrupted in Windows. It could also be your SSD or whatever storage device you're using that Windows is on is failing. What up? How we doing, Ragbolt? All right. I don't know, why are you doing this? Because the customer wanted it, that's why. The customer is usually right. Sometimes. But yeah, the customer really wanted a 4060 Ti. That's what I was referring to in that catchy line, was that the customer really wanted a 4060 Ti instead of a 50 series. So I said, okay. I told him why I think his concerns weren't valid with the 5060, but he said he really wanted it. So I said, okay. He's like, give me a 4060 Ti or I don't want the PC. And I said, okay, we'll give you a 4060 Ti. No big deal. Yeah, I mean, weird stuff starts to happen with Windows when you're SSD. But like, if you're gonna try reinstalling it, you need to do like from a USB reinstall it if you have something corrupted. Like that's what I would suggest to try and see if it's Windows or your SSD. Either way, like if it is your SSD, like you're still gonna lose everything. So, you know, if you can't get back into Windows anyways, you could try like if you get a different SSD and just see if Windows will install on it and work fine. That way you don't automatically lose all your data. That might be the best way. It just can cost you money because you have to buy another SSD. But if there's stuff that you're concerned about losing, that could be a good way to go. Could have just loosened this, but I'm too lazy. Now it's taking twice as long as if I had just loosened it. Okay, here we go. All right, motherboard power cable installed. Let's get our CPU power cable in. Oh, it's DDR3. What your budget builds look like, cheapest one. I have a starter. The starter PC is, after taxes and shipping and stuff, it's just shy of $1,000. I would say that's the cheapest like gaming PC. If you want something that you don't necessarily need for gaming, we can definitely do it a lot cheaper. You can just fill out the custom build form with your budget. And I do have Shop Pay enabled on the website, so you can get there are payment plan options on there too. They are very similar price point, MJ. They're like $30, $40 difference, but he was adamant on having 40 series, so. The AMD graphics cards are great. They're really solid. PC's built by Skytech. Just kidding. You have an Asus TUF Gaming B650 Plus motherboard. It's on the December 2024. That's not super old. You could leave it. 9700X, 9060X T16, 32 gigs of RAM, 1 terabyte. The screen just stays black. That's weird. Like it doesn't even, does it boot to the BIOS at least? Peter? Okay, so we're gonna do this guy here. Dual GPU, you're gonna want a big case, if nothing else, for having good airflow. It's gonna be hard to have good airflow with dual GPUs. What are you trying to use it for? Got those out of the way. That's in the way. Okay. I remember this being kind of a pain last time to get in there. What am I caught on now? That cable. This cable needs to get out of my way. There we go. Okay, there we go. Got that on there. Now, gotta pull this guy off. Command, what'd you say? Sorry. I have a high-end PC, but it crashes, critical process, and dies as soon as I close my CS2 game, and it happens every time. Yeah, it's hard to say. Like, I don't think I could just say off the top of my head what it would be. I would definitely have to look at what's going on. Yeah. So, there we go. Power supply bolts are over here somewhere. There we go. Take the graphics card out. How much would that? That build, that starter build, without a GPU, you would take off around $300. So maybe like $600-700 for that exact build with without a GPU. Shipping and taxes and everything within the US included. What up, Gladiator? Welcome in. Crypto mining? No, you cannot remotely update the BIOS. You got to do it yourself. Or have someone do it locally. Should have talked him into a 47 Ti. Price-wise, it didn't really work. And those are pretty much impossible to find because they stopped making them forever ago. At least impossible to find used, or new, I should say. I'm not in the business of selling used stuff. There we go. Come on. Come in. There we go. Okay. I know I had so much trouble with that panel. Best GPU under 400 bucks. 9060 XT 16 gig. They're right around 400. You could get the 8 gigabyte version if you want it well under 400. 2025 ROG Strix laptop Eclipse Core Ultra 9 with a 5060. I don't think I would get that with a 5060 in it. Probably not, Zach. Find something, I would get something, if anything, with like a slightly lower end CPU and a higher end GPU than that. I think he's using the same motherboard as me. MSI Mag X870, baby. 6400 megahertz DDR5, much different than 6000. No, they have basically they have the same latency for CL30 6000 versus CL32 6400. It's like the same latency. What's your thoughts on the 7800X3D 9060 XT? That's solid. Do you think the i7 4000? No, no. It's probably usable, but not capable of much. Is an AIO worth it for a 7600X? Probably not unless you plan on upgrading in the future. What power supply should I use for a 5090 or 5060 to 5070? I would just get like a 750 or 850 watt. Honestly, probably just get an 850 watt 80 plus gold certified from a good brand, and then it'll be good. Is it hard to build a PC? Personally, no. I've been doing it for a while. Yeah, Rothland's got it. X870E Pro MSI. This is, I mean, that's a good motherboard. I don't know about prices over there, so it's hard to say. I prefer water cooling. Air cooling works, but with modern CPUs, I think water cooling is just a little bit better. I'm not sure, Riper. Okay, let's keep going here. Get our CPU power routed over here. CPU power is routed. Throw that right there. Okay. That'll hold that in place. Got our GPU power here. I think we could just route this through here. Let that sit out front for a minute. Oh, actually, we've got a nice space for it up here. Yeah. Okay, GPU power is out there. I think I'm actually gonna pull this up like this. That. This guy is going to go right under there. Just like that. Okay, that looks pretty good. All right, let's get our AIO going. with pre-installed fans. Thanks, Thermalright. Yeah. Oh, it's got the plastic, okay. Are there any motherboards where you can just install the new BIOS and a USB when you plug it in the motherboard, recognize it automatically? No, it will not. No, a motherboard will never install the BIOS on its own. There is like newer ones like this one, there's a flash BIOS button, so you could put the BIOS file on there. You usually have to reconfigure the name, and then you could just hold down the flash BIOS with power to the motherboard, and it'll flash it that way, but it'll never just do it on its own. The Okeanos Aqua 3. I haven't used the Aqua 3, but I've used the I've used the Mirage case, but Okeanos makes really good stuff for very reasonable prices. 7600X, 3 terabytes. Asking price on that? I don't know. I don't really deal with used stuff much. New, I would say that's probably, I don't know, $1,200, $1,300 in parts. So you might be able to, if it's used, maybe you can get like $1,000 for it. 7700X and 5070, a good combo, yeah. Sorry, I'm trying to read all the comments, but it's tough sometimes. Type in exclamation point specs if you want to see the specs. A lot of people told me my PC wouldn't work or be powerful enough to do anything until I have a GPU to support it. For gaming, yes, that's true. Most PCs are pretty incapable of gaming without a GPU, but okay. Let's get this thing in here. Just need these guys. Let's run some cables out to the back. Come on, go through. Okay, those are way too short. What up, Spent? How we doing, dude? It's good to see you. It's been a minute. I feel like I only ever see your stuff on Twitter anymore. I haven't been watching a lot of streams lately. That's probably my fault. Which is better, front radiator or top radiator? Top radiator in like 99% of situations, because you want all the air to get trapped in the radiator and not be in the pump there, and the best way to do that is for the radiator to be on top. ROG Strix B850A Gaming. I don't think I've used that one particularly, but ROG Strix stuff is solid, so I would not have any concerns about it. What CPU and GPU am I using? In this build, we've got a 9700X and an RTX 4060 Ti, because the customer was insistent. He didn't want a 50 series. So I said, yes, sir. Come back. Are there any cases similar to the fish tank ones that aren't as wide? You could go with like a Thermaltake View 270. You could go with the Montech XR. You could go with the Fantex XT View, I think is what it's called. Those are all great little fish tank cases that are much narrower. Yeah, this is a mid-tower case. This is the Lianli Landcool 207. Cheesy, it's a solid build. Thoughts on the recent Omens? I don't like Omen. I mean, I'm not gonna suggest that anyone buy a pre-built from one of those giant companies. One, because they're direct competition, and two, a lot of them don't really make very good systems. And they tend to make ones that are not great for upgrading because they'll use OEM spec stuff that you can't just like slap a new motherboard into. Okay, all that stuff's in here on the back side. Okay, got all that. This guy's over here. I mean, these little like clip things are interesting because you can't actually, yeah. I don't know how they expect people to like hook stuff up to that. Like, how do you tighten something down to this weird hook? It's kind of weird. Not a huge fan of that. Okay, and we're gonna go back through here. Let's go underneath here. Back through there. Oh, we're not gonna go back through there because there's not an RGB port up top. The RGB ports are on the bottom. So let's hope this reaches to the bottom. It does. Is there really not an RGB port up there? There's not. It's surprising. Okay, that is installed there. So yeah, I'm just not sure how we're gonna hold that to this. We can try with a zip tie and just see what happens. Worst case scenario, we just throw it out afterwards. Maybe if I go over the top of that, maybe if I do that, it'll stay somewhere useful. Yeah, that kind of works. Okay, I'm not gonna do this one yet. I'm not gonna zip tie this one yet because we've still got the pump fan and stuff to run over there. And this guy we might be able to run it over to there if we bring it down over here. I think what we're gonna have to do is kind of bring this together sort of down here so that we have enough length in our bottom cables to actually get them over to the side there. Okay, let's get our CPU cooler block on here. Is that bigger or smaller than an H6 Flow? This is smaller than an H6 Flow by a little bit. I would say depth-wise, it's probably pretty similar, maybe a little bit shallower depth-wise, or length-wise, I guess, whatever you want to call it, and then depth, it's much smaller. Okay, let's get this out of here. And this guy goes on here somehow. Maybe like this. Yeah. There we go. Twist lock. Boom. Just like that. Okay, so we'll leave that there. Let's get a paper towel real quick. Try and keep all the thermal grease off my hands. Hey, you're welcome. Well, the 9070 and 7600X bottleneck? No, not really. You gotta message me on Discord, White Meta, if you want me to get you like an actual part list. It's a low enough budget that it's hard to do off the top of my head. Okay, just get the excess out of here. All right. Get my spatula nice and clean for next time. Close up my thermal grease. Check the fingers. Oh yeah. We did good. Basically nothing on my fingers. Go. I love the built-in AMD brackets. They are so convenient. All right, let's get our AIO pump fan out to the back. We'll bring it back and route it over here. Come on. Find it with my fingers there. Okay, got that. Just try and pull all that kind of tight so it stays for a second. What started your interest? I mean, honestly, I built my first PC to game and stream off of back in 2020, and I just really enjoyed it. And so I started by just like building for friends and stuff, and then I was like, I want to turn this into like an actual business and try and do something with it. And so I I did that. So really it was just like me making my own PC that got me into wanting to do it for a business. Okay, get that tight. There we go. This guy needs to come down to here. Okay, all of our RGB is nice and daisy chained now. I think we're gonna throw a few extra zip ties in here to hold all this together and make it look nice. Since we can't make it look perfectly nice by putting it all the way over with all the rest of the cable management stuff right away, we're just gonna do some of this. All right. Okay, so got all that in there. All right, that's looking pretty good. It's looking pretty solid there. All right, let's get our GPU out here. Am I hiring? No, I barely pay myself as it is. It's come a long way since the beige cases of that time. First computer was in middle school with a Duo quad. Wow, it has come a long way. Are there any motherboard? I already read that. Yeah, nice and clean. Can someone explain why some people prefer the 40 series over the 50 series counterparts? At this point, not really. I mean, there have been some concerns with like the really high-end cards having some issues. But those are honestly not that common. Like I've never had any issues with them in all the PCs I've built with 50 series cards. So yeah, it's kind of, but yeah, I mean like this one, the 5060 Ti 16 gigabyte is very nearly the same price as this 8 gigabyte 4060 right now. And you get pretty significant performance boost in 1080p and 1440p, which is not necessarily the case across the board, but they also, one thing that's annoying that they did is they stopped building the high-end 40 series stuff like late last year. So there was a drought where they weren't making any high-end cards for months, and basically kind of forced people to get the 50 series cards when they came out, and created a bunch of artificial demand because there was just nothing in the market. Which is kind of dumb. All right. Let's get a couple of these guys out of here. Man, these guys are like trapped in there. There we go. Okay, 4060 Ti going in. Boom. Here we go. 4060 Ti is in. Let's get our cable going here. Okay. And there we have it. Okay. Don't know why that didn't want to pop in at first. That looks good. There we go. And that is a fully built PC, ladies and gentlemen. Check that out. All right, let's look at a couple of things. What do you think about custom OS that people use for better performance? Yeah, they're okay. I typically just use Windows debloater, because it does it's similar in getting rid of some of the unnecessary stuff in Windows, and then you don't have to deal with the other idiosyncrasies of having a custom OS. So that's what I use. 7600X 3D bundle for Micro Center. Yeah, I've had some random issues with some of the tough gaming motherboards recently, so yeah, I guess buyer beware. It's just called Windows 11 debloater. How can you build PCs at midnight? Well, because it's only 5 p.m. here. Do you think it's a good idea to put the max amount of fans in a case? It's not a bad idea. Definitely doesn't hurt to have extra airflow, as long as you set them up the right directions. So like in a case like this, front and bottom should be intakes, top, and if you have a rear, should be exhaust, and you'll be good. What's your best tip on having more performance? I mean, Windows debloat. I mean, yeah. You want your BIOS up to date. That doesn't necessarily mean a lot of performance, but it does mean, you know, reducing issues. You definitely want to make sure your RAM is set to Expo or XMP, DOCP, whatever it's called for your motherboard. That's going to make a big difference. Make sure resize bar is on in BIOS. And there's a lot of little things you can do. I mean, obviously, if you want to get a little extra, you could always overclock and stuff, but I don't do that. Do you recommend pairing a 7800X 3D with a 5070? That's a great combo. I think the 9070 XT or 9070 might be a little bit better price-wise, but the 5070 has dropped in price now, so yeah, that's a solid pairing. Just with the gaming PC and the light comes on for the RAM, power is on, but no connection to the monitor. What can you do? I mean, if your RAM light is on, you could have a dead on arrival stick of RAM, so you can try like one stick of RAM and then the other stick. You can try putting it in different slots to see if it's the motherboard. You just kind of got to do a little bit of diagnostic work to figure out what the problem is. It's 1 a.m. in France. Yeah, it's 5:08 p.m. here. A Raspberry Pi can run Counter-Strike. Forever 6, if you type in ! specs, it'll give you the full specs and the case name is in there. This is the Landly LandCool 207 though. Thinking of going with a Vision 011 compact, Core Ultra 9 5070 Ti, built with the Hydro Shift 2. A little concerned about airflow and cooling. The compact honestly has pretty solid airflow if you have all of the fans in there, even without it being in like mesh mode. Or yeah, mesh mode on top. Yeah, I would go mesh mode on top for sure. Okay, who's ready to see this PC turn on for the very first time? Put your favorite emoji in the chat if you're ready to see this baby fire up. Yeah, I'm gonna fire it up in just a sec, Henry. I'm not French. Someone in the chat is French. I don't know who that person is. You got to be really wary with the PC optimizer people. Been a lot of negative stuff that's come out from about a lot of them. So just be super careful who you let work on your computer. The 9800X 3D with the 5070. I mean, that's even better. What up, Amit? Yeah, let's go. We got some great emojis in there. Zach throwing down some emojis. Afterwise, love it. All right. So as a reminder, this PC, Ryzen 7 9700X, got 32 gigs of CL32 6400 RAM. We've got an RTX 4060 Ti 8GB. We've got an 850 watt power supply, the MSI X870 MSI Mag X870 Tomahawk Wi-Fi motherboard, a 1 terabyte SSD from Team Group. Got our Thermalright V4 Frozen Knot, I think is what it's called, or Aqua Elite. I can't remember. And then we've got the Landly LandCool 207. First ever power on. Get a little front view there. Oh, camera's freaking out because my face isn't in the screen there. Look at that. Look at that. What do we think? Just a nice, clean little build. And honestly, I think having the power supply up there is really cool. Oh, this fan isn't running. Oh, is the cable in the way? I think our GPU cable is up against that fan. There we go. Just had to tuck it out of the side. There we go. Now that bottom fan's spinning. Cool. Yeah, it's pretty quiet. That's the beauty of good fans and good airflow is your fans don't need to run super fast and loud to keep everything cool. That is why you want a case with good airflow. Yeah, I mean, if he's well known, like, you could take a shot with it. I personally don't know him. I am not really in that space too much, and I've been burned by other people I've worked with in the past, so I just kind of stay away from it. The price of this unit, this is the, with the 4060 Ti, this is the AMD Streamer PC on my website. So if you go to redneckengineer.com, you can take a look at the specs and the price. I think it's around $1,800 before shipping. 9700X 23. Where do I get the parts? Newegg, Amazon, Best Buy, wherever I can get them. Sometimes Best Buy Business, if I need to get stuff through them. It really varies. It just kind of depends on where I can get the best price and what's available. I have, no, do not get a 650 watt for a 5070. Get at least 850. I have business accounts, and I have my reseller permit stuff set up with several vendors, so I don't pay sales taxes when I'm buying stuff to sell to customers. So I do have to collect state income tax within Idaho, or sorry, state sales tax within Idaho, but I don't hit the thresholds for other states, so I don't have to charge sales tax for other states. Yeah, it's a Thermalright. Is the Thermalright CPU cooler worth it? Absolutely. This is like a $50 cooler, and it works really well. Like, there is no one else in the game in the US that makes this good of quality of coolers for the price. You just can't find them. In terms of airflow, I also love the H9 Flow 2025. Yeah, it is kind of pricey. If you want something that's similar to that, but like a little bit better value, the Montech King 95 Pro is basically the same price, but it comes with a bunch of pre-installed RGB fans. So. BN, this one is around $1,800. This is pre-sold for a customer, but you can, like I said, you can find it on the website, redneckengineer.com. The link is in the description of the video. You can also find it on my, on my channel. This is the AMD Streamer PC. I need to upgrade, or I need to update the listing with a 5060 Ti 16 gig, but if you were to order it today, I would basically just do a free upgrade to a 5060 Ti 16 gig. Because that's what's, yeah, the newer and better. Is it better than Arctic? I would say Thermalright is best price to performance. The Arctic is probably slightly better, but unless you have a really powerful CPU, you don't need something like the Arctic. Yes, Storm. So that's part of the reason why I can justify the prices that I do is I will update the BIOS. I will set up the BIOS. Like, I'll set your RAM XMP. I will set the fan tuning, like resize bar, make sure that's all turned on. I install Windows. I activate Windows. I install all of the drivers for like your GPU. If it has like a CPU cooler with like an LCD screen, I'll install and set up that software. I will update Windows completely, run Windows 11 debloater to get rid of anything that doesn't need to be there. Yeah, GPU driver, all that sort of stuff. And then I test it, and then I'll pack it up and ship it out. So 1,000 with screen. This is almost 2,000. See you later, Pierre. Appreciate you coming in. Yeah, you're welcome, Storm. Arctic makes really good stuff. It's just more expensive. So yeah, if it's worth it to you, you can go for it. If you if you don't want to spend that sort of money, but you still want good performance, Thermalright is great. And they have ones like the Frozen Warframe has like has a little LCD screen on it, and those are only like $80-$90. It's hard to beat, man. What's more value for money, Gigabyte Z98 or Elite? I don't know the exact prices of all those, to be honest. Usually the MSI Mag, the Tomahawk, is the best in terms of price to performance, in my opinion. Run SteamOS on it? No, it's gonna have Windows. Customers don't want SteamOS. It's DDR5 meta. All AM5 CPUs are DDR5 only. All right, we'll see you later, Zach. Yeah, I'm gonna go, we're probably gonna go hop over to RightTech stream here in just a minute, and we'll get some games in. Also, green boot light, so that's good. Linux is king. Yeah, I'm not putting Linux on somebody's computer. I mean, they could ask for it, and I'll probably charge them extra to do the extra work of installing Linux versus Windows, but no. We install Windows here because that's what 98% of people use. And it works with every game, which Linux does not necessarily. He's not on yet, but hopefully soon. Okay, cool. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for hanging out and chatting and asking questions and being part of the fam. And thank you to the two of you who dropped super chats, Husk and Riper. Appreciate you guys. I don't know if you guys are still in here, but thank you so much for the supers. Definitely helps support the stream and doing what we're doing, and the business. And yeah, we'll see you guys on the next one. We don't have another build lined up just yet, so it might be a week or so before our next PC build stream. Maybe we'll have to fire up just a chill and chat and answer your guys' questions and hang out. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I ship from Idaho. That's where I'm located, Storm. Yep, no problem. But I can ship anywhere in the US. That's not a problem. 6400 RAM is not, it's basically the same price as 6000. It's really not any different. Hey, thank you, Atlantics. We'll see you later. Appreciate you hanging out. Yes, I do have a warranty. There is a warranty page on my website where you can read all the warranty stuff. Yeah, you're welcome, Amit. Appreciate it. All right, y'all. We will see you all later. But yeah, Pewee. It's a 1-year warranty on like the system as far as like anything build related goes to. If it's something more like a component fails, outside of that, we'll basically just, I'll facilitate doing a manufacturer replacement for a failed component. And for the lifetime of having it, free tech consultation, whatever, diagnostic help, all that sort of stuff, always available for any of my customers too. All right, y'all. See you on the next one. Goodbye. Goodbye, 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 goodbye. Goodbye, 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 goodbye. Goodbye, 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 goodbye. Later, Storm. Appreciate you hopping in.